We all know that Liftoff is one of the most known simulators to practice flying FPV drones before even taking off for the first time. Liftoff also supports a wide variety of controllers capable of working and flying FPV virtually. But how does it work with the DJI FPV Remote Controller? How does it work specifically when flying the newly DJI FPV drone in Liftoff? Well, let's see. Space perception is the first word that comes into my mind when I want to talk about flying the DJI FPV drone in Liftoff at a specific angle versus reality. I always feel, as instance, if I am flying outdoors my DJI FPV drone at an angle 30 degrees, for instance, the drone goes faster and farther than in Liftoff. However, let's talk a little bit more about how it's with the DJI FPV Remote Controller in Liftoff. I love that it's super sensitive, but it's so small compared to my FreeSky X10S Express. It's like comparing a small car with a truck. But anyway, the controller is super responsive and it's the absolute best match. The DJI FPV Remote Controller plus the DJI FPV drone in Liftoff Simulator to basically simulate the real deal. Just keep in mind that depending on your current expo rates setup, the sensitivity might be different from the game to flying the drone. I always practice personally and fly at multiple angles. Usually, I like to practice at about 30 degrees for creating so-called cinematic videos in the game because that's what I basically do with my DJI FPV drone. But as well, at a 15 degrees or less practice balance flight, kinda like cine whooping style, and sometimes I even fly at 0 degrees angle for the most sensitive manual flights. But every single time I fly only acro or basically manual, whatever you want to call it, with all the sensing disabled. Flying DJI FPV drone in Liftoff Simulator with the DJI FPV Remote Controller is the real deal, as mentioned before. It's the closest way to safely train and then take off the DJI FPV expertise you learn in the sim into the real world. But be safe and remember, the sticks and controls may be slightly different from one another, and it's better to crash 1000 times in Liftoff than once in reality. It looks like I've been reading a script all the time alone and I'm so terrible at actually reading the script, but I'm just gonna be a little bit honest. It's actually quite accurate to fly the DJI FPV drone in Liftoff Simulator with the DJI FPV Remote Controller, and I've been flying for quite some times. And yes, as mentioned, there are some differences when flying in reality and as well when flying in Liftoff. And to be honest, I didn't even try other simulators with this specific controller, with the DJI FPV controller, to see exactly how it works. But it is a good match, the DJI FPV remote controller with the drone they put with one of the latest updates. Thank you very much for watching, guys, and I hope to see you next time.